Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the F1 2018 AOR Hype Energy F3 League on the PC Season 16 round number 9, the Austrian Grand Prix. My name is Thompson, and joining me in the commentary box for tonight's race is Aladar. Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Very glad to be back once again.
And what a great race we have ahead of us here at the Red Bull Ring. It's a very short lap, I think the shortest of the season. So we're just going to be above the 60-second mark, and that means it's going to be especially close in qualifying, I'd hazard to guess. And yeah, track facts on screen for you right now. Aladar, you want to say something about
that? Yeah, just seeing a couple of clips of old races, old AOR races, and now it's just very high average speeds around this track. It is a very fast track up here in the Styrian Mountains, and it's a beautiful setting as well. I really do enjoy the Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, beautiful scenery.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoy it very much. Partially, well, as much for the scenery as for anything else, and of course, it is very good for overtakes and the like as well.
Yeah, what I remember from last year's race, where I commentated F2 with Julio, was we had Gerks start, who now is an F1. He started from last position on the grid and actually managed to finish first in the race, overtaking second and first at their time in the last corner in one go. So great race from him, and I'm looking forward to a very exciting race here tonight as well.
Yeah, and speaking of Gerks, he's done a very good job in F1. Just a little shout out for him. Yeah, as we can see, just the track records coming on now. The pole time of a 104.9 should be comfortably beaten by our drivers today, considering the F1 2018 cars are so much faster than the cars on the previous game. Should be seeing times down in the 103s, in fact, so a very comfortable margin ahead of that time indeed. So I think now what we're going to do, after we just take a brief look at the overview of the whole track with the sectors, is we do have a hot lap for you to look at, which will be narrated, and so we'll throw you over to that one any second now.
Here we are riding on board with ACR Raven as he takes us for a spin around the Red Bull Ring, home of round 9 of the AOR Hype Energy F1 race. Climbing up the hill to start the lap and into turn 1, braking at 100 metres and dropping from 8th gear into 4th for what is a really short apex. Now it's important not to scrub off much speed as you begin the long climb up the hill, through the kink of turn 2 and into the braking zone of turn 3, dropping from 8th gear down into 2nd. Now this is the summit of the circuit, some 60 metres above the start-finish straight, but it's all back downhill from here, opening up the DRS and going down towards the braking zone of turn 4, which is really tricky. Got to hug the inside like your favourite granny. Don't let the car run out onto the curb. You want to avoid that as you now go flat out through turn 5 into the area where the racetrack comes alive. Into the blind entry of turn 6. 5th gear through here, accelerating into turn 7. Throw the car in and then get spat out as you go on to turn 8. Now 2 corners left of what is the shortest circuit on the calendar. Here comes Raven into turn 9. 6th gear, incredible speed through there. The prancing horse gallops round the final corner and up to the line to complete the lap here in Spielberg.
Alright, hello and welcome back everybody, and we are into qualifying now.
Yeah, as Tassan was the first one to go out onto his flying lap, he's now in the 3rd sector, coming around turns 9 and 10 now, 10 the last corner. And yeah, looks like a clean lap so far, so let's see what his banker time is for now. 104.2, that's a decent, reasonable time for a first lap.
That is a very good time actually for a first lap. I'm quite surprised, although Martin G has come across the line and beat it, but Assassin hasn't necessarily been someone we've been seeing right at the top, so I'm quite impressed with that time actually from the Sauber driver, I must say. Collis, however, trying to make me look bad by putting in a 103.788 straight off the bat, and that's a very good lap time indeed from the Haas driver.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. It seems as if JSR actually, yeah, that's right. He set his first flying lap on super soft tyres, which is interesting. Set at 104.9, so not the best times compared, obviously, to the ultra soft runners. So we'll have to wait and see if he wants to stay on those tyres or not. I'd imagine he does not want to start on those tyres. There's been a bit of talking between drivers about strategies, but it looks like the ultra soft is the most viable strategy. From ultra softs onto supers would be too much of a stretch, and obviously if ultras and softs work, why would you want to start on super softs then? So
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Slightly peculiar, not on board with Ramdrop at the moment. He's just come across the line and set a 107.5, and he's currently in 0 ERS mode, and I think he was in 0 ERS mode for the whole of that last lap, so is he taking a third warm-up lap here? Is that what we're seeing? That would be quite strange if it is. I can only assume he had a bit of a moment and messed up his tyres a little bit and doesn't actually want to set a lap time on this set of tyres after all, but it's rather odd to see him touring around multiple laps with 0 ERS mode. Meanwhile, Lemon actually has done 2 laps now and has just put himself up into 2nd place. There are 3 drivers very close to one another, Lemon, Lasser and Martin G, all in the 104.0s.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at Ramdrop's telemetry. He's got 5 laps on fuel on board, so maybe you forgot to put the fuel load down? I'm not quite sure. So it looks like, is he going to come into the pits? No, he's staying out, so maybe he's going to start flying that now?
Still in 0 ERS, unless I'm not getting the correct information on that, but I don't see why I wouldn't be.
Yeah, on the telemetry, his battery is full, so he can't be using any, which is interesting. Maybe he's just trying to get an eye in on that first set of tyres, just do a few laps.
He has been away for a little while, so maybe he is just using this as a sort of extended practice session, but regardless, I do think it's significantly odd behaviour out of Ramdrop, but whatever works for him, and of course he is the championship leader, so he probably shouldn't be questioning him all that much. He probably more or less knows what he's doing. IE Pony, interestingly, having come out on the soft tyres, the hardest compound available at this race.
Yeah, it's quite peculiar with Ramdrop, I agree. As peculiar as, IE Pony on those soft tyres, so it looks like another one who wants to just maybe get an eye in, because there's no real point in qualifying on those tyres. He's probably not going to stay on that 9th place he is at the moment, so yeah, if you're out of the top 10, there's no real point in qualifying on harder tyres anyway, especially at this track with the strategy at hand. So yeah, it looks like just a few practice laps probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to note is that this is a track where rain is significantly possible. It's one of the more likely tracks on the calendar for precipitation. However, doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, the drivers may know something we don't, but if it was essential to start on the soft tyres so that you could have more flexibility going into the race, then you'd think we'd see some other people trying it rather than going out on the ultra softs off the bat. So I don't think IE Pony has any information that none of the others have. I'm just going to go back on board with Ramdrop now and see what he's up to. He's still touring around in 0 on the ERS mode. So yeah, this must just be some sort of peculiar practice session for him.
Yeah, he still has 3 laps of fuel left as well, so he's got some time to go if he wants to. Yeah, good evening, by the way, to everybody who has joined us just recently. We've got a few in chat who have called out their personal bias, who they are favouring into tonight's race. So
have they called it out in the Finnish language?
yeah, I'm still waiting for that. That became a theme in our like 50% Finnish league here. So someone from Finland is watching. Good evening to you, obviously, as well. As now Ramdrop has come into the pits and has probably ended his practice laps. He's currently sitting in P12, so you will want to improve on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A 107.112 is in no way representative lap time, and he absolutely wasn't pushing flat out, even with the ERS mode all the way down. A 107.122 would still be slow, even with that considered. So as we see Collis coming across the line, actually moving himself up to a 103.579, and that's sort of around the sort of pole times I would have been expecting, actually. A 103.5 or 103.6 perhaps, but if Collis has set a 103.5 this early in the session, then perhaps we're going to see it move down into the 103.4s or even 3s as the track improves further into the session. Just going to hop on board with Lemon now, see if he can respond as he coasts past several drivers who are getting out of his way on the back stretch at the top of the hill here. Heading down into the more technical twisty section of the track. The very tricky double left-hander here, which I think is definitely the hardest part of the track. Just got to be careful not to run too far out onto the curb, because that curb on the right-hand side can punish you very much. Doesn't quite make the apex of that left-hander into turn 6 or 7, depending on how you look at it, but Here he goes now into the final double right-hander of the track. Very high speed couple of corners. Very satisfying to drive, in my opinion. Takes quite a lot of curb on the inside and runs over that little yellow sausage curb. But he does come across the line and he does improve, but only by about 1/10 of a second. And he remains in second place.
Yeah, as usual, we can see a theme with the Polish driver here. He is always reasonably fast at most of the tracks. But we'll have to wait and see if the consistency is there in the race. Obviously, unlike Monaco, for example, where the walls are very near to the track, we have a permanent racetrack with the walls further away, but it's quite easy to spin out on a lot of the acceleration zones here around Austria, so there is potential for mistakes as well. I don't want to put the commentary curse on him. He is a decent guy and a decent driver, but it has been a theme for him to have made the odd, costly mistake here and there. So we'll have to wait until the race and see how he performs today. Maybe he can maybe rid himself of that curse he's had so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. But if there is a track to do on it, as you said, this track is not the easiest to keep yourself facing in the right direction. So it will be a bit of a challenge for the Force India driver throughout this race. Maybe he can get some sort of setup which promotes stability rather than speed. That might well suit him once it actually gets down to the race, although the fact that he is putting himself up in second place in the earlier stages of the qualifying session does imply that he has got quite a pacey setup on that car. Speaking of pace, Skatey puts himself up into fourth place, just 1/1000th of a second ahead of Martin G, who was the previous holder of that fourth position.
Yeah, that is definitely very close there in front of the McLaren. Talking about McLarens, I just noticed Tom started a flying lap on soft tyres, and there's not too much time left in the session, so that is quite peculiar as it gets a bit of slipstream there from his teammate. They're very cheeky there. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what his strategy is, the Veloce driver. Obviously not having the best of luck so far this season with connection and availability for him to race. So we'll have to wait if he actually wants to qualify on those tyres, which would be interesting tactics, to be fair. But yeah, maybe again it's just one banker lap until he puts on a faster set of tyres. We'll have to wait and see. But he now comes across the line, so can he set his first lap? No, it looks like he invalidated it. So yeah, maybe he does need that practice.
Yeah, I think so. He did a run considerably wide through the exit of the second to last corner, and I think that was probably where he picked up that invalidation. What we have seen from Tom is several quite lackluster qualifying sessions, but we've seen his race pace far outstrip his qualifying pace in general. He was doing fairly well last time out when he ended up crashing out of the race, and in several other races we've seen him make charges up through the field in somewhat of a sort of quiet manner, but he sort of very solidly gets it done throughout the race, so that might well be something that we see from him throughout this race as well. Lasser, by the way, at some point he is now back in the pits, but he did actually move himself up ahead of Lemon to resume the Haas 1-2 right at the top of the field, but he's still 0.3 of a second behind Collis, who is looking very strong at the top right now.
Yeah, speaking about Collis, he's now at about the halfway point of the lap, on the fast lap as well. Has put on a fresh set of ultra soft tyres, so yeah, we'll wait and see if he can improve on that. We've got that second sector split. Unfortunately, didn't show whether he was up or down on his time, which is unfortunate. He's now through Rindt curve. Oh, that was a bit wide, maybe just off track. We'll have to wait and see, but it looks like he's still going for it. Can he improve? Nope, he can't. He stays on 103.5, which is, to be fair, it's still very fast.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're not really seeing anyone get close to him right now, so I wouldn't be too unhappy with a 103.579 if I was Collis, and he does have time, of course, to go back into the pits, and I think he might be out of ultra soft tyres, though, if I'm not mistaken. I think you only get 3 for the qualifying session. I think this has been his third run on different sets of ultra soft tyres, so it might be the case that he will not be able to improve on that 103.5, but regardless, as we already mentioned, it is a significantly fast lap time. JSR just moved himself up into 7th place, as I was about to mention the fact that his teammate Ramdrop actually came back out on the super soft tyres after running around very slowly on that set of ultra softs to start with, so perhaps he was thinking about starting on the medium compound tyre, or rather the super soft compound tyre, which is the middle of the 3 available. However, he seems like he will probably be ditching that strategy, considering he's already down in 9th on that tyre.
Yeah, that would not be a good return to the series film. Obviously, Ramdrop's still the championship leader. But I have the feeling he'll have quite some bit of contention for that, so he'll have to work on that qualifying position. Now he's down to 10th, so he's soon going to drop out of the top 10, which is definitely not what you want to do when you're a championship leader.
Absolutely, and he has just strapped on a set of the Ultrasoft tyres. He's still in the pits, so he hasn't committed to that decision yet. But they are the tyres that he has pre-selected in the pits. IE Pony and IAS Tracksuit both having recently come across the line, putting themselves up in 8th and 9th place. They are also running on the super soft tyres at the moment, trying to qualify as high up in the top 10 as they can, while being able to run longer into the race. But I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them coming back into the pits after this run for a set of Ultrasoft tyres, because it does really seem like the way to go. Enigma does a very similar thing on his second flying lap on the super soft tyres, as he moves himself actually onto an identical time with IE Pony, but moves ahead, I can only assume, on the fact that he's alphabetically ahead of IE Pony, because IE Pony did in fact set his lap time first, and IE Pony, speaking of the devil, he pops back into the pits.
Yeah, that might be, yeah, the only thing I can think of is that on Enigma's screen he might have a 0.258 or something like that. So sometimes the times are not 100% correct that we see. So I think that's maybe what happened, that Enigma's actually 1/1000th of a second ahead of IE Pony. Because yeah, as we've said, usually the rule is who sets the lap time first is ahead if you're on equal time. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm gonna guess that's what happened there.
Absolutely, I'm on board with Lasser right now, our current third place driver in the Haas, the relatively new addition to the league. He only did his first race last time out at the French Grand Prix, where he managed a podium position, third place. Very strong first outing for the Haas driver, and it looks like the Haas team are set to resume their dominance that we saw earlier in the season, with both him and Collis running very, very strongly. Lasser coming around the lap now. I haven't kept up with the sector times, so I'm not quite sure how this lap is stacking up compared to his previous, but at the moment he's only 0.04 of a second behind Lemon, and he'll be looking to improve on that one, and also of course looking to challenge his teammate if he is able to, but that is a big if, because there is still a significant gap there. He does move ahead of Lemon, but it's still not very close to Collis, over a 10th behind him. And Collis will have another set of Ultrasofts to set another lap with, so it looks like Collis is safe from Lasser at the moment, and we'll have to see whether he's safe from the likes of Ramdrop and Lemon as well.
Yeah, we're also just having a look. Corny and Tom are the only two drivers who have not set a lap so far. Tom at the moment is trying to set a lap on the super soft tyres. He's now coming down to turn 9. Just the penultimate corner. Let's see if he can keep it in bounds this time. That was a much better run than his previous attempts, but misses the apex in the final corner just a little bit. But that should be a valid time. It moves him up P7. That's a very good time on the and the fastest of the super soft runners so far. So yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere, but he did have some practice before. So yeah, good time from him. 1:04.1. That is really good. That's only 0.6 off Collis's super lap time, and that is on a harder compound of tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a very, very good lap from Tom indeed. And the fact that he is only 1.5 off of being in 4th place on that set of tyres will give him immense confidence for the race, because he was really, I mean, I'm sure he could have extracted at least another 10th out of that lap, and if he'd done so, he would have been, as I said, up in 4th place. So that would have been absolutely perfect for the McLaren driver. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to quite get up there, as Corny actually goes and puts himself up into 3rd place just out of nowhere. He hadn't set a lap time yet, so that's very, very good news for the Mercedes driver. Ramdrop now heading up to the line himself, and he's actually going to come across now, and he only goes up into 8th place with that lap time, so that's not going to be good enough to challenge at all. Collis seems to have come across the line and not improved on his time, but it looks like it's probably going to be good enough, because here comes Lemon. He's probably the last person who's going to be able to challenge Collis on that lap time, because most people have already set a lap on these the set of Ultrasoft tyres on which they are running on now. And we see Lemon kicking up a lot of dirt, and he actually dives back into the pits. I can only assume he invalidated his lap some point around the track, so he's not going to be challenging. He'll start no higher than 4th place, and I think that is pretty much going to be it, as Martin actually proved me wrong, putting himself up into 5th place, having done 2 flying laps on that same set of Ultrasoft tyres. I'm not sure too many people will be keen to do that, though. Oh, no, maybe not. Ian moves himself up into 4th. Very good stuff from him. Same exact lap time as Corny as well.
Yeah, we have still a few people on flying laps, though. Skatey's still on flying lap, but I think he might have invalidated his lap in turn 7. I'm not quite sure, because he ran pretty wide, but he's still going for it, so it looks like he hasn't, and he's in P8 at the moment. Can he improve? No, he can't. I'm just having a look. Ramdrop already set his time, but yeah, he's not on a flying lap. JSR's on a cooldown lap. Is Enigma still going for it? It looks like he might be. He's still going full guns blazing into turn 9 now. Oh, a bit of a slide there through turn 10. Hug the apex nicely, but he runs right, and that's probably going to invalidate his lap. Yet he went off the throttle there, so messed it up in the last corner, and he's going to have to settle with P14. Now that is qualifying done.
Absolutely, yeah, that is all we're going to have here, and everyone in the top 10 ended up setting a lap time on the ultra soft tyres. That excellent lap we saw from Tom actually was only enough to get him into 11th place overall in the standings on the super soft tyres, so the fact that he set that lap on the super soft tyres no longer matters at all.
Yep, he'll have free tyre choice, so it's going to be interesting to see. We've got 6 people outside the top 10 this time because we have a few more people on which tile they're going to start. That's definitely the thing I'll have an eye out. But yeah, qualifying results on stream there for you. Again, another front row lockup from the Haas team. Great effort from both Collis and Lasser. Corny is in P3. That was I think, a pretty late pinch there, actually, from Corny, because he had just a few seconds to go across the line and hadn't set lap time yet, so that was right at the death of the session. And then we have Ian and Lemon completing the top 5.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and very, very good, especially from Corny, because the pressure really would have been building on him as he was not able to set a lap time for so long in the session. The fact that he came through strong shows that he has some mental fortitude about him, and we'll see whether he's able to make that count throughout the race as well as we get into the session, and it looks absolutely bone dry and not a cloud in the sky.
Yeah, I think it might be a good time as we wait for the drivers to have a look at the standings.
Here we are on screen.
And as we can see, Ramdrop still leading the championship, although he missed the last 2 races. But obviously his lead has become smaller, and Collis, after only being in the split for 3 races, is already in 3rd position. So considering that, again, Collis is at the top of the grid, and Ramdrop didn't have a good qualifying session today, it might be interesting for the championship, and I think that's quite a fight that's going to emerge throughout the season between those two. Ramdrop will really have to step up his game. As we now come into the formation lap, and we can see that is the Haas 1-2 that sets off there. So that's definitely a good team qualifying, and they'll hope to try and make that a 1-2 for the race.
Absolutely, and one thing to note, which I hadn't actually noticed until just now, is that the IE Pony is all the way down in 15th position. Not a good qualifying session at all from the Williams driver, and someone who's sitting in P2 in the championship right now, and the only one who's within a win of overtaking Ramdrop, and he's certainly very unlikely to be getting it from down in P15. But as you said, you commentated on Gurks making a charge from the very back of the field last year in F2, or last season I should say, so it's not impossible, of course, and this is one of the circuits where it's more likely than others, but still it's going to be a massive challenge for the Williams driver.
Yeah, absolutely. As the drivers make now their way to the back end of the lap, it's a very short lap, obviously, here around Austria. So there's not much time to get temperature into the tyres and the brakes, as we can see Collis, our grid leader here, not race leader, grid leader, weaving quite drastically to try and heat up those front tyres. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who got the warming up right and who didn't, because that can make up a lot of time at the start, or well, lose a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely, and Collis is slightly ahead of all the other drivers. There seems to be a fairly spread out field for the most part. Of course, having said that, there are 4 drivers who are literally inside of each other, so they're not quite so spread out after all. Interesting to note that everyone who started outside of the top 10 has not opted for the ultra soft tyres, but only one driver, and that is IE Pony, has opted for the soft tyres. So it seems like the super softs are the tyre of choice to start this race on, interestingly enough.
As we now come to the start of the race, waiting for the lights to go on. There they are. We have 2 lights, 3, 4, and 5. The drivers are going to hold for a minute. Now the lights out, and the Austrian Grand Prix is underway. It looks like it's been a good start from Collis here. What Lasser has the better second part of the acceleration, is on the inside, leaves his teammate space, and now he's being challenged by Corny from behind. The Mercedes looking very feisty, coming up to turn 3. And yeah, it looks like will he pip to the inside? No, Lasser blocks off that move. Connie will try and swing it round the outside. Oh, and there was contact. There was Martin G that went up the inside, then smashed into both of the drivers. Now, who was that? Lasser coming back to the track and having this little clash with the Saubers there, and he's dropped down to 8th position. So that was a big mistake there. Oh, and that is
Ramdrop.
Ramdrop is round. He's been spun. And he's now last, and Martin G is actually out of the race as well. What a catastrophe of a start for a lot of the leaders here. That was quite a mess.
Yeah, absolutely, and I cannot think what Martin G was doing going into that corner. He missed his breaking point by such a large margin. There's almost no excuse for that, I gotta say, because he really did just come smashing into the side of the 2nd and 3rd place drivers. Of course, this is great news for the likes of Ian and Lemon, who now find themselves in the podium positions after starting down in more like 4th and 6th, I believe. Martin G has retired and left the session. Lasser and Ramdrop are the only two who've had to come into the pits to change their wings, but several other drivers, I believe, will probably have small amounts of front wing damage. I think Assassin might well do. He had a bit of a poor start and has dropped down from 9th to 12th place. I think he was the one who Lasser hit coming back onto the track in the way he did, but I don't think there was really anything that could have been done about that one. Yes, tracksuit ought to be right behind Corny, according to what I'm seeing, but I'm not actually seeing Corny anywhere on the track, so I will move on from that one. But yeah, no, a really chaotic start and certainly not the cleanest. Ramdrop seemed to be another mistake of his own making there. It seemed rather similar to what happened to Martin G, but thankfully he only damaged his own race by doing that and not anyone else's. Yeah,
Assassin does have a bit of front wing damage, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him come into the pits at the end of this lap. I'm quite surprised he didn't do so at to the previous lap, but yeah, maybe he wasn't aware of how bad the damage was going to be. He's understeering so much and he still stayed out, so maybe just trying to get through the pain of the first very short stint here and then go on to the softs, but yeah, he's going to be dead slow at the end of the field.
Absolutely. One thing I think we should quickly mention, which we haven't actually mentioned quite yet, is the fact that Hazard, who's currently running down in 12th place, is a new driver to the league, and he has been promoted all the way from F11. He actually started this season as a reserve driver in F12, so it's been an astonishing progression from him, and I'm very excited to see how he's doing. He looks like he's relatively on the pace at the moment. He's down in 12th place and running ahead of only Assassin, Lasser, and Ramdrop, who all have front wing damage, but or have had front wing damage and had to come into the pits. But he's still not too far off the back of the field at the moment, and considering the jump he's made, that's quite an impressive feat.
Yeah, and it looks like Skatey's getting reasonably feisty with Lemon here for the 3rd spot on the podium. As Collis tries to pull away in the lead there, Ian finds himself up in 2nd after all that happened at the start. And Skatey actually is the big benefactor of the start because he's already up by 4 positions.
Yeah, Tom also up 4 positions, and Enigma, and that's looking very good for them because they'll have started outside the top 10 and will have started on the super soft tyres. Similar story for Hayden as well, down in 9th place, who's up 7 from where he started as well. Corny's getting pretty interested in the back, and as I said, a good thing about Hayden, I think that is the commentator's curse, because I am seeing him rejoining the track from the grass. He would have lit up the rear tyres coming out of the first corner. It's very, very easy to do, and he was on the inside edge of the track there. He was on the grass, so I think he probably had a half spin, managed to hold it, not lost too much time, but he has lost 5 positions, or 4 positions from where he was, so it has damaged his race significantly, unfortunately. So that was instant commentator's curse there.
Yeah, I didn't have to see what happened. I only saw the result, but I knew what happened because I already had a tear in my eye when I saw that. Because back in my racing days, I did the exact same thing, exiting turn 1, lighting up the rear tires, and just deciding to take a turn to the right. But unlike Hayden, I did not manage to avoid the barriers. So yeah, lucky escape for the Toro Rosso driver to only lose some time and not some front wing as well.
And he is also picking himself up a 3-second time penalty on this lap, so it's not been a good lap for the Toro Rosso driver whatsoever, and I can only apologise for complimenting him earlier in the lap. Meanwhile, Skatey having a bit of a look up the inside of Lemon, and Lemon actually runs wide. I'm not sure he needed to defend that quite as hard as he thought, but he braked very, very late to make sure that Skatey wasn't going to get past him, and now Skatey might well have a run on him down the DRS straight, but he's not going to be able to get past Lemon. Once again running wide and braking a little bit later than he perhaps needed to, but it's going to be very, very hard for Skatey to pass into this section of the track, and he's going to have to settle back behind Lemon in 4th place for now. Meanwhile, Tom97HD actually made it up past Alias Tracksuit, I believe, into the turn 2 hairpin, so that is looking very, very good for the McLaren driver on the super soft tyres. He's sitting very pretty up in 6th place, and he can start to home in on the drivers ahead of him, whose ultra soft tyres will already be starting to feel the wear a little bit by now.
Yeah, he's actually in a very prime position there to have a very good race result. He started P11, somehow managed to survive all the calamity that happened in front of him, and now he's fighting with the ultra soft runners who, yeah, will be on a similar strategy on him, because they will both go into the soft tires in their second stint. But Tom won't suffer from that cliff of performance that the ultra soft runners will have at the end of their stints. So yeah, he's really in top position for a good result today.
Hayden picking up another 3-second time penalty near the back of the field, and he's becoming something of a specialist in picking up those penalties, so hopefully he can curb that throughout the rest of this race. We did see Skatey once again having a look up the inside of Lemon into the hairpin, but Lemon once again able to hold on to that position nicely, and the Ferrari driver getting increasingly frustrated, I would imagine, down in 4th place, just with the podium positions just so close and so within reach. And you can also see that Ian driving away from Lemon a little bit ahead of him, and Collis, of course, at the front driving away from Ian in turn. So Skatey, if he wants to have any chance of winning this race, needs to try and dispatch the Force India driver as soon as possible, and he's definitely going to be trying his absolute hardest to do this right now. Interestingly, Corny, who's behind him, seems to close up in the middle portion of the lap, but then on the straights loses a fairly significant amount of time to the Ferrari driver ahead. Ian picking himself a 3-second time penalty, and interestingly, that's going to be quite crucial towards the end of the race. But I think that Corny must be running some higher wing settings than the other drivers, because he's having trouble down the straight. But speaking of down the straight, here comes Skatey up the inside, and he's much more alongside Lemon than he has been before, and they are side by side on the exit onto the DRS straight. But Lemon actually gets the better run. He was on the outside, which is where the better traction is around there, and Skatey diving up the inside once again, and this is going to be moved on surely, because the inside is so much better for this corner in particular. Lemon does indeed slot in behind him, and Skatey finally gets that position.
Yeah, and Corny tried to take advantage of that as well, and as I say that, Lemon has spun out. That is a recurring thing this season. I feel so sorry for the guy. I mean, he's so fast, but those mistakes that happen so often for him, it just absolutely kills his championship. Yeah, maybe it's just a lack of experience, but yeah, those things shouldn't happen. I mean, yes, he got overtaken, maybe he was frustrated, but yeah, you have to keep a calm head, keep your head down, and try to regain the position in a proper way, and not try to overdrive the car. And I have the feeling that's what very often happens with him.
Absolutely, and he has in fact dove into the pits now, and he's going to be onto the soft tyres. It's a very, very early stop if he's hoping to one-stop this race, so I think that's probably going to be a two-stop that he's committed to. Perhaps he just absolutely monstered those tyres in that spin and had to come off of that set of ultra softs, but that is really heavily compromising his race now, because I really doubt he can get to the end on that set of soft tyres.
Yeah, Skatey has now got past Lemon, obviously, who spun out, but now Skatey's under pressure from Corny. That's definitely not going to help his cause of trying to charge down Ian in front. As Enigma and Alias Tracksuit going side by side through the middle sector. That's not something I was expecting. Well, it looks like Enigma has the upper hand, and will be in P6 from now on. But yeah, that came out of nowhere. I think there must have been a mistake of some sort, because otherwise you don't go too wide in the middle sector. That's really nowhere where you usually overtake.
Yeah, absolutely, and Skatey into the pits from 3rd position, so as soon as he got past Lemon, as soon as he got that clear air, he's just got into the pits and negated that advantage he just got himself. He's come onto the super soft tyre, so he's committing hard for the two-stop, and this is the sort of lap time you would be pitting if you were going on to an ultra soft, super soft strategy, so that looks like it's going to be what we're seeing out of the Ferrari driver, as he comes back out in 11th position, just behind Hayden. Significantly ahead of Lasser and Lemon, though, behind, and Ramdrop as well. Those drivers are trying to make up for the terrible starts they had to this race, and it's not looking very good for any of them right now back there.
Yeah, I really don't see the two-stop working around here, so I mean, I'll be patient. I'll watch closely about where the drivers are and what pace they have, but yeah, it's just usually just too much time you lose in the pits. I mean, tracks like Canada with a very short pit lane, you can think about it, but Yeah, here where we have a regular sized pit lane. I really don't see that strategy working, but I mean, I'll see. Obviously, Skatey.
Sorry. Enigma and Adidas Tracksuit both absolutely lit up the rear tyres coming out of turn 1. That shows that the tyres they're on are wearing, but Enigma's actually on the super soft tyres right now. And actually the mistake that Adidas Tracksuit made there means that IE Pony has shot himself up the inside. Adidas Tracksuit actually ran wide. I'm not sure if he got a little nudge from the Williams driver, but he has lost out to IE Pony, who started down in 15th position, and he's already up into 6th place on the set of soft tyres. So that is very, very promising stuff from the Williams driver. And as I was saying, it would be very difficult for him to get a decent result out of this race, but the fact that he's already up in 6th place means that that is significantly less difficult than I was imagining.
Yeah, and considering his rival in the championship at the moment is Ramdrop, who is in P14, it looks like IE Pony will gain a few points on him, but considering Collis again leading the race, I think IE Pony actually might lose out a position in the championship, depending where he, as I lose my English, where he ends up at the end of the race.
Yeah, no, I think IE Pony should still be able to hold on to second just about. He is currently 21 points clear of Collis in the Haas, so he would have to finish down in 9th place not to hold on to that position. Or no, maybe 8th actually. He would have to finish 8th not to hold on to that position. But I think currently in 6th place and on the hardest set of tyres, I think it's very likely he's going to finish towards the top end of the points.
Yeah, and Enigma, after ridding himself of Adidas Tracksuit, has now caught up to the back of Tom97. They're both on the same strategy, although Enigma has a bit more fuel to play with, whereas Tom has a bit more ERS deployment available. His battery is in a bit better state than Enigma's, so they're fairly level pecking. And I'm gonna say they have a few more laps to go until they stop. And I'm just having a look at the people that are still out on their set of Ultra Softs they started on. That's Collis, Ian, Corny, and Adidas Tracksuit. And as I say that, Adidas Tracksuit actually comes into the pits. They're closing in on 70% tyre wear, so they're definitely feeling the effects of that right now. So maybe it's a good time to come in, and that's exactly what Adidas Tracksuit is doing right now.
Yeah, Skatey getting the fastest lap of the race down towards the bottom of the field, but actually Enigma going all the way around the outside of Tom in the hairpin here. He outbrakes himself a little bit though. Can't quite get it turned in quickly enough, and does lose a little bit of traction to the McLaren driver coming onto the DRS straight. And in fact, it's Tom that has the DRS, so he is going to be able to hold on to 4th position for now. Locks up significantly coming into that right-hander, but he is able to hold on to the position. Enigma didn't really get himself turned in for that one either, and now IE Pony is climbing all over the back of the Ferrari driver, and the soft tyres will beginning to come into their own now. And oh no, someone's round. Who is that? It's Corny. Corny's gone all the way around as well. I'm not sure. I didn't quite see what happened there, but if his tyres were around the 70% mark or above, I can only imagine he's overheated them or just completely ran out of grip on those tyres, and he'll surely be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. Oh, no!
And he moved into the path of Skatey, now was suffering damage, which is especially annoying for him, because he just stopped for a fresh set of tyres. So now Skatey has to consider if he comes into the pits or stays out, as Coney nearly spins, and yes, Skatey follows him in, and it might give him a notch of acceptance, which he does. So yeah, there's a bit of retaliation as Skatey gets the 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding into the pits as well.
Yeah.
Not the most gentleman-like behavior, but reasonably understandable, since Corny absolutely flattered him when rejoining, so I'm not going to be surprised if we see a steward's inquiry about that.
Yeah, and those two have history as well. Think back to Monaco when Skatey ended Corny's race around there up towards Massenet. So those two have a history of crashing into each other, and that will have not made them any happier with one another whatsoever. We did also see the two front runners in this race, Collis and Ian, both come into the pits on the end of that lap, and they will be going for the one-stop strategy. They both come onto the soft tyres, and now IE Pony actually finds himself in the lead of the race. He's managed to get himself ahead of both Enigma and Tom97 HD. I'm not sure if that was in the aftermath of what happened to Corny or not, but he's got himself up into first place, and now he's going to be able to drive away from them, surely, because he's going to have so much more life in this set of soft tyres than they're going to have in their super softs.
Yeah, Tom97 Enigma still squabbling for position, which at the moment is second position, but obviously they still have to come into the pits. I'm just having a look there. Tyre wear's at 50-odd% at the moment. so I wouldn't be surprised if they want to come in the next few laps. For both of them, the pit window indicator hasn't lit up yet, so I have a few more laps to go. But it's not very far until their round of pit stops.
Championship leader Ramdrop into the pits. This is, of course, his second stop because he had to pit at the end of lap 1 for a new nose cone. He was on the ultra soft tyres, so he's basically running the same one-stop strategy as the likes of Collis and Ian, but with having an extra 20 seconds for the earlier pit stop added onto his race time as well. Enigma is in the gravel. He was having a lot of trouble with traction coming out of certain corners, and I think he's probably just run wide. I'm not sure if he tried to make a move on Tom or what happened to him, and he's actually picked up a rather harsh 3-second time penalty as he comes back onto the track. Hayden overtakes him and then immediately loses it on the curbing and spins off to the left-hand side. He did manage to hold that one just about, but that was rather comical as he went past immediately to give the position back up to him again, and Enigma does indeed dive into the pit, so he just had enough of those tyres as well. And that is unfortunate for the Ferrari driver because that was a very solid race and both Ferrari drivers are having significant troubles in this race.
Yeah, so once again, Tom97 finds himself in the best position of all the super soft runners. The next one down the road is JSR, 5 seconds behind him. And yeah, I mean, sometimes you just need some luck, or bad luck for your opponents in that case. So yeah, he's in a comfortable position right now, can drive his stint to the end. Go on a fresh set of tyres and then try and attack as many cars in front of him as possible.
Absolutely, yeah, and Ramdrop's actually just driven past Skatey, but Skatey's car is actually ghosted. I'm not sure if he left the session. I didn't catch it if he did, but either way, he's not currently in control of his car and he's running around in the back, and that is quite tragic. I mean, after what happened to him, I can imagine he's incredibly frustrated, but he did have the pace this race as well, because we saw him set the fastest lap of the race after his first pit stop onto the super soft tyres, so it's really a massive shame. And I was really looking forward to seeing what he was going to do with the two-stop strategy as well, and how he was going to be able to make that work in comparison to the likes of Collis and Ian. Hazard comes into the pits on his set of super soft tyres, and he goes onto a set of the soft tyres, so he'll comfortably make it to the end with those. So he's going onto a one-stop strategy from the super softs to the soft tyres, and I imagine that's more or less what the rest of the super soft runners are also going to do.
Yeah, it's been a quiet but decent race from our newcomer, that must be said. Good performance there from him. I think he's suited very well into our F3 mid-pack. And yeah, who knows, with that steep learning curve he's had so far, maybe he can improve for some top 5s, top 3s, or maybe even a win somewhere down the season. So it's a very long season still ahead. I think it was round 9, so hey, we've still got 12 races after this. So yeah, there's plenty of time to improve. And having a look, there we go. Tom97 actually now coming into the pits as his pit light indicator has lit up this lap.
Oh no! He got a 5-second stop go. He sped into the pit lane, and that is not good news for the McLaren driver. He won't be able to serve at this pit stop, so that will be added at the end of the race, and so that will become a 10-second penalty in total for him. So that's very bad news for him, as he was looking like he was going to challenge for the upper ends of the points positions.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to help his cause, but I mean, he came out on P5. It was actually quite incredible. I didn't expect him to rejoin that high up the order. He's now ahead of Lemon, who spun earlier and was fighting for a podium position. So, yeah, I mean, if it was not for that penalty, he would be in an absolute great position.
Yeah, and honestly, Hazard, he's just... Everyone is falling off the road or getting penalties or making mistakes or losing their front wings, and he's just plugging away, and he's already up to 7th position, and if he can keep within 10 seconds of Tom, that's another position he's just going to gain, although it might well not be the case that he's able to keep within that gap to Tom. We'll have to see whether he's able to make that work come the end of the race. Lasser also, after what we saw happen to him earlier, is already back up into 4th position, although he is on a very old set of super soft tyres at the moment, so he'll have to come into the pits any moment now. Not this lap, though, actually. He stays out for another lap, so I wonder if he's trying to stay out for another set of super soft tyres. He started the race on ultra softs, of course, so he doesn't actually have to go on to something that isn't super soft, so he may well try and extend this stint just long enough that he's able to scrap on another set of the reds.
And as we talk about him, he just gained a 3-second time penalty, the first one of the race for him. Talking about time penalties, I think it might be noteworthy to say that Hayden already has gathered 15 seconds of penalties.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, he's become a bit of a specialist in accruing penalties, and that's quite unfortunate. When I said that, he was only on 2 So now that he's on 5 different time penalties, that's rather unfortunate for the Toro Rosso driver, whose race really has not gone to plan at all. And I think he started from the very back of the grid as well, so it's just been a really poor weekend all around for poor Hayden in that Toro Rosso. Meanwhile, A Pony, he is maintaining a decent gap to Collis, interestingly, despite the complete gulf in the age of their tyres. He's still 8 seconds ahead of the Haas driver, and that gap didn't come down by too much on the last lap, so that's rather interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, having a look, his pit window indicator has lit up, but I think it might be a little bit early. I'm gonna guess lap 21. So 2 laps on the rest of this one for him might be a good aim. Maybe lap 20 if he's brave. I mean, tyre wear is always a bit easy on the second stint because the car has burnt off some fuel and is a bit lighter, so tyre stress is down. As Tom 97 and Lasser having a go here for position 4, that is, and yeah. Obviously, Lasser fighting with that very worn super soft tyre, so that was quite easy pickings there for the McLaren driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very easy indeed. Lasser not even fighting it at all as Tom sent himself up the inside of the turn 2 hairpin. Good move by Tom, and well done to realise that he could make that move from that far back, and realising the sort of trouble that the Haas driver ahead of him was indeed in. He may well have got Jeff on the radio letting him know that the super softs were very old indeed. But regardless, he's made it work, and he's got himself up into clear air, so he can chase down Ian and try and build a gap to those behind him as well, considering he will have 10 seconds added on to his race time come the end of the race, and actually sets the fastest lap of the race. Meanwhile, Lasser gets himself a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well.
Was that the 3rd or 4th driver so far that got a penalty for speeding in the pits? It seems that that is a quite easy thing to do here around Austria. It's a very high-speed pit entry, so not all too surprised, but it looks like Lasser will rejoin just behind Hayden, who cuts the first corner by absolute mile there, so trying to rack up all those penalty points, it seems, sort of. I mean, if you can't be on top of the championships, and might be on top of the wall of shame, so
yeah, I mean, it's something to aspire to, I suppose. He could be also confused and thinking he's playing some other sport in which having a penalty is a good thing, but regardless, that is not the case here, and he should probably be trying, as he runs pretty significantly over the inside curb of that corner as well. Just having a look on board from Lasser at the Toro Rosso driver ahead. One's very wide on this one though, so he's not going to pick up a corner cutting penalty for that one.
Yeah, as IE Pony recently started lap number 21, so that's the lap I predicted for him to come in, so we'll see. I think it's realistic. 15 laps, 21 laps on the softs and then 15 on the supers. And yeah, he's up by 14 positions from where he started, so at the moment it's going very well for the McLaren driver. And if I can change that, yeah. Let me see. He actually might rejoin in front of Lemon when he comes out out of the pit, so that would be P4. Lemon at the moment 23 seconds behind. So yeah, I think that might actually be where he rejoins as he now comes into the pits. And again, perfect pit stop prediction from my side. Don't speed into the pits, which he doesn't. So I'm just gonna have a look. Doesn't need a wing change. Oh, yeah. Where did he get that stop and go penalty somewhere?
I didn't see. Sorry, I'm currently looking at the 2 Mercedes drivers who have been side by side for pretty much the whole lap now. And actually, one of them runs very, very wide going into the final corner. That was Corny, who's desperately trying to make a move on his teammate. And they're still side by side on the pit straight here. This is absolutely insane racing between the two of them. Teammates obviously being very respectful, not coming close to hitting each other, but just staying with one another incredibly well. Hazard does now fall behind, but he does have the DRS up the hill, so he might well be able to make another move back up the inside of Corny into the hairpin. If he keeps his wits about him, he'll probably not stick it up too far down the inside, and he does put his nose in there, but only just, and Corny leaves him plenty of space and will now move up into 6th position. But what a titanic battle between those two drivers. iPony has, in fact, come out just behind Lemon, so down in 5th place, but that's still very good news for him because he's on super soft tyres, so he's on faster tyres, and he's on fresher tyres.
Yeah, I'm still a bit baffled because I didn't see him pick up a stop-and-go penalty anywhere, but he definitely was held before he was serviced in the pits. That's why he dropped behind the Force India driver. But yeah, considering his pace so far in the race and in the season, and him being on those fresh set of tyres, I should be able to get past Lemon. I mean, Lemon's not always the easiest driver to overtake, but it's somewhat easy to pressure him into mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lemon should be coming into the pits at some point before the end of the race. I really doubt those soft tyres are going to make it to the end. They're already 15 laps old, and actually he does try and go defensive against iPony, but iPony had so much overspeed on the Force India driver that he's just able to drive clean around the outside of him into the hairpin, and he moves all the way up into 4th place, so that was not difficult at all for iPony.
Yeah, I have to correct that. He actually went into 0 ERS and lifted off, so he knew that wasn't a battle he had to fight and let the Williams driver pass. So yeah, he's at 47% tyre wear at the moment. So I don't know. Considering his record on very heavily used tyres, I think the best choice for him would to put on a fresh set of Ultra Softs and bang in a few quick laps to the end.
Yeah, that would be, I think, the more sensible option, but the cars are pretty tightly bunched up behind him, so if he did actually pit, he would come out somewhere down in 12th or 13th position, I believe, as iPony, to no one's surprise, sets the fastest lap as he comes across the line. He has a pretty significant gap up to the likes of Ian and Collis, but he is already de facto ahead of Tom, who has that 10-second penalty to serve at the end of the race. So iPony is currently in 3rd position and will be on the podium for this race as long as he manages to keep it on the road and keeps his pace up as well. It'll be interesting to see whether he's able to close down Ian, though, who does have a penalty of his own, but I think only one 3-second time penalty, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. The only drivers that haven't gathered any penalties yet are Collis, Tom, and Ramdrop. Although Ramdrop is somewhat out of contention, still in P13. I mean, he has closed in to the pack. He's in reasonable distance to the next car ahead, but at the moment he's not really in contention for any points, unless 2 drivers ahead of him maybe have some issues, and Hayden gathers a few more time penalties of his own.
Yeah, no, Ramdrop will currently move ahead of Hayden, actually, with the penalties that Hayden has. But Ramdrop, we have not seen any sort of lightning pace out of him at any point this weekend. We've not seen anything that hints at the fact that he's currently the man leading the championship, so maybe he's a bit rusty after 2 races away, or maybe this track just doesn't suit the Renault driver. But either way, there is something a little amiss. Of course, it hasn't been a fortunate race for him at all, and he did have to really compromise his strategy and go into the pits on the end of lap 1 to change his wing. But even then, even when he's been running around in clear air, the pace has not been outstanding from the Renault driver, and outstanding pace from Ramdrop is what we have come to expect.
Yeah, considering he was F1 driver at one point, it's to be expected that he does reasonably well in F3. I mean, he's still leading the championship and will still be leading at the end of this race. That I can guarantee. But yes, pace today has been shaky, at least. So yeah, maybe it's just a bit of rustiness coming out of the break he had, or maybe it's just not. It's the track not. But, yeah, definitely not the result he was looking for. That is for sure. And I'm just having a look here. Enigma now in the DRS window of JSR. That is the battle for P8. Although JSR does have 12 seconds of penalties, whereas Enigma's only 3. So it doesn't really have to necessarily go for a big lunge there, but might see a battle emerge there, depending on how aggressive drivers want to drive. And obviously, usually, unless they have a friend in voice chat with them who watches our stream and sees what's going on, they usually don't know what kind of penalties everyone else has. I think Jeff does say if someone has penalties if you ask him. Jeff is the race engineer, obviously, but I'm not quite sure if he always necessarily says how much time penalty that is.
Yeah, I think it is just if they have a penalty, and even then I think it's only sometimes. He's a rather elusive man is Jeff, and never quite able to pin him down on exact details. But regardless, Enigma is getting closer to the back of the Renault driver JSR, and JSR I don't think has had any major dramas on this race, unless I'm much mistaken. There have been, of course, so many dramas for so many drivers that I may well be forgetting about one in particular that JSR picked up, or some sort of half spin or something, or a bit of front wing damage he picked up earlier in the race, but I don't think he had any of that throughout this race, and if that's the case, then that would make him the lowest running driver who has not had some sort of serious problem this race, and however, he's going to be demoted another position now as Enigma gets a much better drive out of turn 1 and moves himself up comfortably into 8th place, and now we'll be able to close down to the back of Hazard, who he should have the pace over.
Yeah, I've been talking to JSR quite a bit after the last few races, and yeah, I mean, having a look at, except for those penalties he has acquired so far, as you've said, it's been a somewhat trouble-free race for him. So I think that should be somewhat relieving to him, because he's had so much bad luck so far, and about 95% of the time, none of that was his fault. It was just literally bad luck. So I think it was in... was it Austria or Spain? I can't remember. Somewhere where he was... No, it was China, I think. He was running good position and then he disconnected. So, yeah, he's not had the best luck so far, but looks like he's going to drop out of the points due to penalties. But, I mean, I think a clean race under your belt, that's something you can look forward to. And it looks like Hayden is coming in for another pit stop.
Ooh, Pony is currently alongside Tom97HD coming down the hill, and he actually makes it stick around the inside, and he is going to have the grip advantage on the McLaren driver, and he does make the move as Tom puts his nose back up the inside somewhere you probably don't want to be putting your nose, and he does back out of it in the end. The Williams driver hangs it around the outside nicely, and Pony is up into 3rd place and able to close down his teammate now. Ian, who started near the front of the grid, and Pony, who started almost right at the back, and now they are running 2nd and 3rd in this race. It has been very, very good for both of these Williams drivers, who have, like JSR, remained completely free of any sort of incident throughout this race. Ian, they both have a penalty or two, but aside from that, almost nothing has gone wrong with their races. Just going to take a brief moment away from them to talk about the fact that Corny is right behind Lemon as well. He might make a move into turn 1 here, but you probably want to stick behind in turn 1 and get the run on them up towards turn 2, the hairpin at the top of the hill, and he is going to have that run. Indeed, he's all over the back of the Force India driver, who does go defensive up towards the inside, and he is fighting this a lot more than what we saw with Pony earlier, and he does break very late, locking up, and in fact pushes Corny a little bit wide. Corny will rejoin the track, though, alongside him, and he should be able to try and get past Lemon. Lemon is still ahead at the moment, and he does have the DRS, so he's actually going to move back ahead before the braking zone here, and he manages to get it turned in nicely, keeps the car under control, and holds on to 5th position for now.
Yeah, the question is how long can he hold on to that, because there's still 7 laps to go, and he's already at 64% tyre wear, and I'm not really confident that Lemon can carry those tyres to the end. Considering he's battling, considering he's had difficulties with worn tyres and the tyre wear itself, so we'll have to wait and see. I mean, he's still staying out, so it seems that he's trying, but yeah, I'm not very confident about that. But Corny is really all over him, coming up down to turn 1, or up to turn 1 rather. But it looks like Corny didn't have the best of runs through turn 1. I'm just having a look. They're pretty equal on tires, on fuel and ERS. And this time around, Corny's not close enough to Lemon, but Lemon runs wide in turn 3, and that gives an awkward exit there for Corny. Hazard now also back into the fight after that, and Corny having a look around the outside. Can he manage to do a very late braking? He locks up there. He's still on the outside though. Lemon trying to hold it round the inside there as well as they come through the exit of turn 4, and it looks like, yes, the Mercedes on the inside there just gets in front of Lemon and takes the air off his front wing. You can see how much time the Force India now loses in that dirty air, plus his very worn tyres is now nearly at 70%, and that is move done for Corny for 5th position.
Absolutely, and Lemon really is just completely running out of grip here, and I think Hazard is going to be moving past him as well, so interestingly, Hazard seeming to not have quite the pace of the rest of the drivers earlier on in this race, but as he moves past Lemon, it's impressive to note that Corny passed him quite a long time ago, and yet he's remained very, very close to the back of his Mercedes teammate, and he's really kept pace with Corny ever since the pit stop. So that's very, very impressive stuff on the harder compound, the soft tyres, for Hazard actually in this race, and maybe it was just the ultra soft tyres or the super soft tyres I believe he was on earlier. Didn't really suit him so much, didn't really suit his driving style or the way he likes to lean on the tyres. However, with these soft tyres, he is able to take more out of them and has done a very, very good job, and is now even slightly, almost closing up to the back of Corny, not quite in DRS range though. And I doubt he's going to be able to challenge his teammate towards the end of the race, but keeping with him is a massive feat in and of itself, and Corny is one of the drivers who we've seen has the pace to run near the front of this race. Yeah,
absolutely. So very good showing from the new driver there. I'm just having still a look at the tyre situation. We had IE Pony obviously doing the soft, super soft strategy, and he did 21 laps in clean air without too much fighting and clean driving, and pitted after 21 laps with reasonably worn tyres. And just for an example, Lemon is now on 24 laps on his soft tyres and still has, well, he just started the lap, so he still has, what, 5 laps to go. So I'm going to call it they're going to blow up at some point, or he's going to spin out drastically and then they're going to blow up. But anyway, he just has nothing to battle with. I would have pitted like 3-ish, maybe 4 laps ago, put on a set of ultras or supers or something, because now he's still going to lose positions. He's now got Enigma behind him who's going for the inside here, and it looks like it's not really close enough yet, but I mean Lemon has nothing to fight with. Lasser behind as well on super soft tyres, but Lemon's just going to drop down like a stone, that is for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. If he manages to finish in the points, it'll be very impressive, although there is a 12-second gap from 10th place to 11th, and JSR does have all those penalties that you mentioned earlier. So actually, if Lemon is able to stay out and doesn't have his tyres blow up, he'll probably manage 1 or 2 championship points, which wouldn't be terrible for the Force India driver, considering the fact that he has so few points to his name so far. But again, based on the fact that he's had such good pace in general around here, it's still a disappointing result.
Yeah, and Enigma up the inside now. They're side by side coming up to turn 3. No luck ups, surprisingly. But yeah, Lemon on the curb there under acceleration. And he's trying actually to have a go back at Enigma here. So brave move there from the Force India, trying to go down the outside actually, and actually has a bit of tire contact there with the Ferrari ahead, and that means Lasser can move up the inside and profit there. JSR closely behind as well, but as is mentioned, JSR has 15 seconds of penalties now, so that is 12 seconds more than Lemon has. So yeah, Lemon might actually hold on to 2 points tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. May I quickly ask what the penalty situation between Ian and IE Pony is, because IE Pony is now only 1.8 seconds behind the back of his teammate, and he is still catching him on those super soft tyres.
At the moment, they're both on 1 penalty.
Okay, alright, so this is a battle for second place if IE Pony is able to close it down, and it looks like he's running out of time a little bit as JSR further down the field manages to make his way past Lemon, but it'll be very unlikely that he's actually going to make up all that time that he needs to remain ahead of Lemon before the end of the race, unless, of course, Lemon's tyres do indeed blow up. However, Hazard right now as well.
They have just blown up!
Oh, there he goes!
Spun out!
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Well,
I called it. I called it.
You called. That's true. I'm not going to say it was the hardest prediction ever, but it was a prediction nonetheless. And Lemon, for the 2nd race in a row, gets his 3rd puncture in 2 races, actually, I think. So I think he got 2 punctures last time out. So really struggling to hold on to his tyres is the Polish driver.
Yeah, left rear this time, and that is points out of the window for him. And IE Pony is now in DRS window of his teammate Ian. And now the big question is, will there be a big battle between the teammates, or will they try and bring that result home? There's still 2 laps to go for the 2 Williams drivers, so now it's bang on for that battle for 2nd position. They're still level on penalties, so it's level pecking field for both of them. Just having a look, it looks like Ian has a bit more battery to play with, but apart from that, they're absolutely level. But yeah, obviously IE Pony has those fresh tyres, and he's going to pressure Ian to try and get past there, and Hayden with another penalty. No, actually, Hayden's already at 30 seconds. I lost track of that. But oh, Hazard actually passed Corny. How did that happen?
Yeah, he was closing in on the back of Corny considerably, actually. I was trying to take a little peek at that, but I actually missed the very moment of the overtake. We saw Hazard locking up very, very significantly into the turn, but he has actually made it past Corny, and he, all the way from F11, has made it up into 5th place in this race, and that is an insane performance out of Hazard, especially when we saw, after the first couple of laps, him dropping away from the back of the field. Really good stuff from the new Mercedes driver.
Yeah, Lasse already got past Enigma as well, but he has 3 seconds of penalties more than Enigma has. So unless anything changes on this last lap, Lasse will lose that position again, as Iaponi goes for a very late dive into turn 3, but yeah, he was just miles away from Ian there, and yeah, lost more time than he gained, to be fair, and slots back into 3rd position as he only has half a lap to go. So it's now or never for Ian, but there's not really any overtaking opportunities left in this lap, and he's actually down to 0 energy mode. So it looks like he's going to settle in, and they're going to bring home the 2-3 result for the team. And I say bring home, it's Collis who now comes round the last corner to bring home that round number 9 Austrian GP victory for him. And that is, I think, his 3rd victory in a row. So he's definitely going to be challenging for the championship now, considering that Ramdrop only will have 1 singular point tonight. Sorry, probably 2, considering JSR. Oops, sorry.
Corny was really close to the back of Hazard and tried to take as much speed as he could into the penultimate corner. Had a massive swapper and actually ran very, very wide at the end and wasn't able to make it past. He actually had that 5-second stop-go penalty, which he had left unserved, and so that whole battle was for naught, but he was trying very, very hard to get past his teammate at the end. Enigma and Lasse come across the line, and as you mentioned, Enigma moves back up ahead of the Finnish driver. Ramdrop actually ends up in 9th place, picking himself up 2 championship points, but that's not going to be enough if he's looking to hold on to his lead in the long term. JSR comes across the line, and I think he might have actually held on to 10th place because everyone else was just that far behind him.
Yeah, JSR finished the race in 10th place, and it was actually Ramdrop, the only driver without on-track penalties. And Tom as well, but he did get that 5-second stop go for speeding in the pits. So good driving for both of them for not gathering any penalties. And yeah, I just wanted to finish my calculations as we see the ceremony here, the champagne being sprayed. If my calculations are correct, I think Collis has now closed down the gap to 17 points to Ramdrop, so that is less than the race run. And yeah, as I predicted after his first race with us, he's going to be in the championship fight, and that is the race results for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Collis coming home in 1st place, another dominant drive from the Finnish driver. He comfortably led this race, and you really felt like it was under control. Even though Ian and Iaponi were closing in towards the end of the race, it did feel very under control from the Finn in the Haas. 2nd place was Ian, and that is a massive result for him, I must say, because his morale has been through the floor recently. He's had so many tough races and so many races where he's been taken out. He's not been very happy with a couple of the driving standards in this league of several of the drivers, but he was one of the few ones to actually manage to have a clean race this time out, and that, as much as the 2nd place, will be a massive boost to his confidence and his happiness as well. Iaponi, excellent race, coming from 2nd to last on the grid to end up in 3rd place and on the podium, and right behind his teammate there in 2nd as well. Good stuff from him. Tom97HD, a similar drive, same with Hazard, but just to a slightly lesser degree. Hazard, though, once again, it cannot be overstated just how impressive it is that he's come all the way from F12 to F3 this season and is immediately competitive, getting himself 10 championship points in his first race here. Enigma in 6th. Corny in 7th after 3rd place on the grid. He had a couple of dramas. Same with Lasse after the Turn 1 incident, down in 8th as well. And then the 2 Renault drivers, Ramdrop and JSR, rounding out the top 10.
And talking about JSR... Nope, that didn't work. That worked. Good evening.
Very smooth.
JSR, can you hear me?
Hello. Sorry, my mic is muted.
Hello.
Hello.
So, I've already said in the stream that the two of us had a bit of chatting after the last races actually, and we talked a bit about your bad luck you've had this season. But I mean, apart from the few penalties you've had here and there, I feel like it was a reasonably decent race.
Yeah, it was. Qualifying was. I locked up into the top of the hill, which ruined my last run. But that might have been actually better because I probably would have only got about 9th or 10th, so I could start on the supers. But yeah, start was good. But then there was contact down at turn 4, and the game gave me an illegal overtake on Assassin. I tried to lift off to let him go by, but I didn't realise he was one of the cars that actually spun. So I ended up then losing 2 positions off the back of that, plus got a 5-second stop and go penalty later on in the race. So that was a bit unfortunate. And then, yeah, the rest of the race was okay, just sort of trying to drive well without incident. But I did manage to accumulate a rather large sum of penalties that ended up costing me 9th place to my teammate in the end, who was running without setup. So yeah. Yeah, that's just a bit of information for Ramdrop.
Yeah, that's a rather interesting little bit of information actually, because we did notice that Ramdrop's pace was nowhere near what we were expecting actually, even when he was running in clean air, and of course he did have those incidents, but the fact that he was running without a setup would explain why he was struggling to make any sort of imprint on the gap at the back.
Yeah, I believe he went for default setup and maybe tweaked the wings and ballast ever so slightly, and that was it.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, he drove well considering.
Yeah.
That. But yeah, at least I scored a point for once. Not another 11th place finish.
Yeah, but that was definitely a bit of information that was missing to us. But I mean, still good result for him then, finishing in 2nd place, and you rounding up those points position for Renault. Considering at least for Ramdrop for quite a bit into the race, it didn't seem that he was in position for some points tonight.
Yeah, it was a good result.
And joining us in the commentary box as well is Tom97HG. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
So, yeah, it's been quite a hectic race. Obviously, qualifying, we were wondering a little bit about what you were trying to do, but it looked like it didn't work out. Tell us a bit about your qualifying strategy.
Yeah, I tried to go on the super softs because it would have made the one stop a bit easier. The one stop with ultras is quite impossible. There's people spinning off. I don't know if you noticed around lap 13, people trying to make the one stop work, and yeah, I wanted to avoid that basically. So I tried to do the on the supers, and ultimately I think I could have done better. I heard on stream about if I just found like a 10th, I could have got like 4 more places, and I could have found that just in the last corner alone where I kind of ran a bit wide and missed my apex. So yeah, that could have been a lot better. Could have started a lot higher up, and then obviously maybe avoided some of the carnage that happened on lap 1. But generally, I'm happy. It's a good result. P4, I'll take that. And Austria's a good track for me. I'm quite consistent around there. I'm happy to keep my nose clean in terms of track corner cuts and extending, which is something I was hoping for. Ultimately, I let myself down by speeding in the pit lane. So yeah, I'm gutted about that. But all in all, a good race and a good way to bounce back after Beauregard.
Yes, definitely the same things we noticed while streaming. Yeah, definitely. It's always a good achievement to not gather any on-track penalties, and it often, more often than not, this season so far has decided a few places, and I think even wins actually. So yeah, it's always good if you can drive clean, and yeah, congratulations to your good race.
Yep, thanks, appreciate it.
Oh, and another one with a good race is Ian. Good evening to you.
Good evening. How are you guys doing today?
Great, how are you?
I'm feeling pretty cool. Finally, some good result.
Yeah, I've had the feeling that the last few races have been somewhat frustrating for you. So
No way.
So I'm gonna guess that must have been quite a relief today.
Yeah, it was a really big relief. I didn't even expect to be fighting for podium because I had no practice at all. So I was really surprised with my pace.
To be fair, there was quite a bit of crashes at the start of the race. How much of did you see, or did you even have to avoid some of the calamities that happened at the start?
The start was fine for me, and then the run up the hill. I was lucky to be on the left side and behind the two guys in front, because I saw Martin on my right, like braking really late. So I saw his arrow fly by. I was like, okay, just wait with steering in, and it'll be fine. And then I just got 2 positions gifted to me.
Yeah,
But it's really unfortunate for those 2 guys.
Yeah, after that, it looked like a pretty straightforward race for you. Obviously, you were in threat of losing that second position because your teammate, i.e. Pony, was closing with rapid lightning speed. Were you under pressure, or did you have do you have some sort of team agreement that you want to bring home results as a team, or is it just everybody race for themselves with the Williams guys?
It's pretty much race for yourself, unless you by yourself decide to let someone through. I was definitely under pressure because it was coming really fast, and then I just made sure to stay calm. You know, if he overtakes me, it happens. You know, he's on fresher tires. But I got lucky again with that back marker coming in almost in contact with him, I believe. So yeah, unfortunate for him. He really deserved second place today.
All right. Yeah, and just having a look, I didn't forget you, but in the commentary box as well with us is Lemon. Good evening to you.
Hello. Good evening.
That's not very enthusiastic hello, but I mean, it's understandable. Obviously, spinning in the first part.
I had DRS stack open and Jeff told me it after I spun.
I didn't even know that was a thing in the game. It is?
Yeah, I didn't know too.
Oh dear.
That's incredibly unlucky.
Yeah,
And
because I was wondering why that happened, because I was getting maybe trying to desperately hold on to position, but that seems like more technical difficulties then.
Yeah. And before it, my quality was bad because I was purple after 2 sectors. And then I just missed the turn number 9, and it ended on P5, the grid. On the race I had to beat lap 7 or 8. Then I was sure I'm not going to have any chance for points because my gap was very big. And then it appeared I was P4 for a moment. After everyone pitted, I let iPony through because he had fresh super soft tires. Then after a little bit of fight, I let 2 Mercedes through. And when JSR was behind me and I was happy because he had 15 seconds of penalties, I had only 3 on that moment. I got a puncture on my rear left tire after going about 20, 25, 26 laps on those tires. So they were dead even before that puncture, but I knew that, you know, my pace is not going to be that bad to lose that position. But I got a puncture. Then when Williams were lapping me, I was braking, but my tires kept locked up, and when I just, you know, went fully on brakes, my rear just overtook front. So that wasn't good. I'm sorry for your opponent because it costed him a win of the race, but yeah.
To be fair, I think what cost him the win was the stop and go penalty he got, because otherwise he would have been in front of you after the stop. I think it was yeah, it was on overtaking on the yellow flags, but iPony said that the person he was supposed to let pass was someone who spun. So yeah, I think that is none of you doing, to be fair. But speaking about controversies, I mean, we have Ian and Lemon here in the commentary box tonight. There has been quite a bit of controversy between you two guys, coming together quite a few times in the previous few races. Obviously, this time around, you both had very different races, so there was not...
At the beginning we were close, about the second.
Yeah. Do you
I
think
was-
you?
I
do
was
you-
scared to come to him and I waited just to make undercut.
Assuming next race you happen to battle for position on the same spot on the track, do you think you guys can keep it clean this time?
Yes.
I'm definitely going to respect him in future battles because everyone deserves it. You know, no matter what happened in the past. That's how I think about it.
Seems like it. Seems
You
like
know, incidents can always happen. You know, but it's my intention not to, at least.
Aladar, if you have any more questions.
No, that's it from me.
All right, and obviously thank you for everybody for coming into the commentary box and giving us your point of view on the action in the race as someone in Aladar's house slams the door shut. And yeah, I'm just having a look at the calendar because we are closing on to Christmas break, but on next week will be our final race before we take our break for Christmas, and it will be the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. I think most of the drivers usually look forward to that race. So how about you guys?
Woo!
Yay.
It's about the first circuit, apart from Australia, which didn't go very well for me either. About the first circuit, which I actually really look forward to on the calendar.
It's a really fun circuit to drive, that's for sure.
Yeah, but it is a lot chance to be wet, so.
Excellent.
Yeah,
news.
but I don't mind rain. I quite like rain, actually.
Okay, I mean, I hate rain, but hopefully.
So to sum up, Ian is looking forward to it. JSR's hyped, and Lemon doesn't care.
All right.
About right. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and obviously thank you to Aladar for commentating with me tonight as usual.
And thank you for commentating with me as well.
So don't forget to watch next week's race, round number 10, the British Grand Prix, again Sunday the 16th at 8 PM UK time here on this Apex Online Racing YouTube channel. And obviously at the end of our streams I like to have a big shout out for all our sponsors. Obviously Hype Energy for sponsoring our F1 leagues. We have Elgato who sponsor our stream, so big shout out to those guys. And obviously AOR is sponsored by Thrustmaster GT Omega Racing as well, so thanks to those guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching the stream. Aladar and I always enjoy doing the streams for you, and I hope we all see you next time for the British Grand Prix, and I wish you all a very good night. Bye bye.